Right, and there hasn't been much interact. Generally speaking, most people aren't interacting with monkeys in a sort of sexual way. But I mean, they do eat monkeys on a regular basis in Africa, so there is that. And there's evidence that even there's HIV samples in some of the people the Nazis were exterminating. So HIV has actually been around for at least twice as long as we've known about it, if not 4 times.
It's got to be man-made. I bet you it's man-made.
No, we're pretty sure it's rhesus monkeys.
What? Sure. Come on.
Well, no, there's feline HIV. There's feline HIV.
What does that mean?
It just developed. It's a retrovirus. In fact, lions have, in the last 100 years, already evolved beyond being affected by feline HIV.
Mm-hmm.
That's how fast evolution happens in Africa.
Mm-hmm. I don't know,
like there was a dip in lion populations. Like, it wasn't just overhunting. It wasn't just poaching. It was they were dying from disease. And then they sort of developed an immunity, and now they're bouncing back.
I see.
It's the same with whales and cancer. A lot of whales are suffering from cancer. It wasn't just over whaling in the last 150, 200 years. It was that all the carbon we were pumping into the atmosphere was causing, solar radiation effects.
I don't know. That sounds pretty science fiction to me, man.
Well, no, the carbon interacts with the ocean water and the sky to sort of make it easier for radiation to come through the atmosphere and the water. And the whales were dying from cancer. What was the odd bounce back effect from this was the uniqueness of having melanomas in whales actually made the melanomic whales more attractive, so they were actually having more offspring. No, it's really weird. The further you get into...
If you apply that, okay, just what you've just said to the human race, right? Because we're living in a very health-conscious kind of world now, right? Everyone is very health-conscious, eating organic foods, taking better care of themselves. I just wonder if the opposite is true, and we're actually leading to a more unhealthier outcome, which would end up eventually causing the opposite to be true, that unhealthy people would end up being...
medical bills.
Yeah. So if you have a purebred, they have inherent flaws in their genetics that causes a lot of problems for them. And it's just, it's inherited or whatever. Yeah, you have a purebred. Yeah, you can have the status of paying $1,000 for a dog. But at the same time, you're going to have a lot heavier veterinarian bills and a whole lot of other problems. Tend to have more problems when they're like what Hitler was doing. Hitler was trying to create a master race, right? And those people still exist today, but yet the blue-eyed, blonde-haired race, right? But they have inherent problems with them genetically, right? So they tend to be unhealthier. And so it's a mixture of, like, when it's not pure, it tends to be healthier simply because they borrow traits from one another that allow them to be immune to certain things. You know what I mean? Try to combine that into a healthy,
Hey, is Greg's voice fading in and out, or is that just me?
No, I can hear it as well.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Is that a little better?
Yeah, you're kind of going in and out, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the mic that I'm using. It's a piece of garbage.
But no, to explain the whale thing real quick, a good human analogy would be women with freckles.
Okay.
Like you kind of find women with freckles kind of special and cute?
No, not at all.
Well, I mean...
That's me.
Some people do.
Some people do. So it's you, basically. Some people is you.
Well, they've done studies with birds. If you take a pretty bird and you glue like a rare feather on its head, other birds will be like if you take a male bird of all green and you glue like a red feather on his head, the female birds will prefer him over the non-red feather male bird.
Stands out.
Yeah, because he's different. Yeah. And so what it is the girls with freckles are different. The girls with blonde hair are different. The girls with red hair, redhead.
Hey, wait! I got Mitchell.
Yeah.
Can I call you Mitchell? It's all right.
That's fine. Or Spider Cat.
Or Spider Cat. Look, what you're saying actually is true in a certain extent as far as my own experience. Like, and this is the example. All right. I am a Westerner. I've been living in Southeast Asia for 12 years. Now, check this out. If you have blonde hair and blue eyes in this country, you are almost a god.
Erotic.
You are
erotic, innit?
You're erotic. You're exotic. You are almost a god. You are so different from what everybody else, because everybody here has black hair, brown eyes. Done. That's it. There's no difference. So when you have blonde hair, blue eyes, holy fuck, man. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to get all the pussy or all the dick. Doesn't matter, one or the other. And this is seriously, and it's a very interesting phenomenon. And I've been through the experience of where they want a lot of the women here want that to be a part of their child. So it increases their sexual marketplace value because they are different. So I agree with you on that aspect. However, when it came to what Gregory was saying about, and I guess this ties in where he was saying, mixed breeds or mutts when it comes to dogs, they tend
hybrid
to be,
vigor.
Yeah, their health is better. They usually live a little bit longer, et cetera, et cetera. I think what I wanted to say to that was that human beings are obsessed with living longer and not just living. So when it comes to these kind of differences, it comes down to this human obsession of like, what can I do to live longer and not just live? If you catch my drift.
Well, that was a hard jump.
Yeah, it was in my mind when Greg was saying it, but I think it had to do with what you guys were saying, is how when it's different, we're attracted to it because we think that it's going to somehow, and it does scientifically apparently, appreciate our age, our durability, etc. So we have this obsession with living longer lives, in other words.
Oh, wait. So you're saying we want diversity within our offspring so that they can live longer, ergo we, by proxy, live longer?
In a sense, yeah, because, come on. Reproduction is reproduction. It's it's about perpetuating the species to a certain degree, is it not?
Well, yes, true. But they found in mice.
If people live longer, right? If people live longer, the world will become more populated, and resources will be smaller, larger population, and the quality of life will down to some degree or another. Just looking at it that way, it seems to make sense. But so they may live longer, but the quality of life may diminish as a result. So living in a health-conscious world where everyone is living longer lives, we may have a diminished quality of life as opposed to living shorter lives and having a higher quality of life.
That's kind of what I was getting at, Greg. Yes.
Oh, all right. Sorry about that. I wasn't near my phone. Sorry about that.
You guys and your phones, man.
Sorry, guys. Come in. Apologize, guys. Yeah. Sorry, what was you talking?
Greg, are you there, Greg?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, keep going. I want to hear how your mic works now.
Guys, can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Anybody want to hear a joke?
Sure, why not?
Okay, it's a bit offensive though. I'm warning you. So, okay.
Well, it depends. It's offensive towards whom?
Jews.
Okay, I'll go for it.
Okay. Alright. Jesus fed 2,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. But Hitler made 6 million Jews toast.
Okay. Where did you read that?
Oh, that's class. I saw it on a joke website.
Okay, but you should probably tell. You should really tell Skepp Torr. He would really enjoy that.
You didn't like it, did you? Oh, sorry about that.
Nah, it's alright. No, I don't care. No. Jokes, some jokes are funny, some jokes are not, but I don't care. It's alright.
Well, that was a hit with my mum's friend yesterday. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll do one more, and I'll shut up since it's a tough crowd here. Okay.
Well, you know what? According to the Red Cross, there weren't even 6 million Jews living in Western Europe at the time.
Really?
Yeah. So
that was inflated by the Jewish media, was it?
Oh, who knows? I have no idea where the numbers came from, but
I think nobody will ever know. Nobody will ever know what
it was. It wasn't just Jews in the Holocaust. It was also homosexuals and other races, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Apparently.
but you don't talk about others.
No, of course not. No, of course not. You don't talk about the gays that were executed. You don't talk about the other races, but Jews.
But also, were gypsies, they were Romans, were people with hangout who were also hated by the Nazis because they were considered impersonal. They were all sorts of people. There were many different groups of people. But however, the largest group is always being considered to be made of Jewish people. And so because of that reason, because it was the largest group, then it was, of course, people started to focus on them and kind of ignore the other groups who were killed. But it's an argument that I don't really accept because, if we're talking about numbers and percentages, okay, perhaps there were more Jewish people exterminated than, for example, gays and Roma and gypsies and so on. But 50 million Russians were exterminated in gulags in the Soviet Union.
Because you remember, that was under Stalin's wall.
If it's about numbers, why are we focusing on Jewish people? Why aren't we focusing on 50 million people who were exterminated in the Soviet Union? So the whole thing is weird, I think that in the end, it happened like 70 years ago. We're never going to know.
It's a political victim narrative, my friend.
Yeah,
but
it happens so many. Yeah, it happens so many. It has happened so many times in the past. It's the way it is. It's what people do. They exploit the narrative to either control, or for ideological and political reasons, for religious reasons, or to make money for various reasons. So in the end, the fact is that you don't really know. You will never know. You will never know what will happen.
Anyway, pardon me. Are we talking about the Jews?
Oh, Mitchell, you want to hear this? You want to hear this joke?
Turk Man was making a joke about the Jewish people.
Let me try again. Let me see if Mitchell enjoys this.
So wait, hold on. We went from a perfectly intellectual conversation about evolution on various things, which I quite enjoy.
To Turk Man making a joke.
What do you expect? I'm here.
Turk Man, say it.
Okay, let me just find it. Give me a second.
Mitchell is dying to hear the joke on Jews.
Okay.
God.
All right.
Very day.
Jesus fed 2,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. But Hitler made 6 million Jews toast.
God, that's terrible. Where do you? I mean, you instead of how should I put this? You should actually start PMing Veronica Clark.
Actually, Turkman, you know what? That's a good thing. That's a good point. You should actually tell. You should tell that joke to Veronica K. Clark. Maybe she would enjoy it.
God, could you imagine? Oh shit! I'll be the target, man. I'll be like the MGTOW target. Oh.
I thought she wasn't. I thought she was a Nazi though.
She looks it.
No, she's like a.
She's a nut job. She's a nut job. For sure.
I think she's portraying herself as a Nazi in an ironic manner.
Yeah, she's actually a military historian by trade, and her focus is World War II history. And I unfortunately read her Amazon page, and like Mayor and MGTOW did. Unfortunately, yeah, me and Mayor do our research, and yeah, she's an author by trade, and she's trying to live like that. I think what she's doing is trying to stir up controversy to drive hits to her page, to drive hits to her Amazon account to sell books.
What did she call it? MGTOWism. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, MGTOWism, yeah.
But this is the thing, yeah. I even wrote this to her, and I think she's blocked me anyway, so I don't know how to contact her. Anyways, I said to her, well, it's funny that you make these slanderous accusations towards MGTOW, but my friend JGG challenged you to a debate or to a hangout, but you refused it. So why is it that...
To be fair, Turkman, I challenged her because I knew that she was going to refuse. I knew
she's never going to accept that, man.
She's never going to. I did it on purpose. Because I knew that she was going to refuse, and I did it so that, you know, people would see the hypocrisy. They would see, oh, okay, so why don't you accept the challenge? Why don't you accept to be in a live hangout with him? Because she's a liar. She's a hypocrite. And, you know, the best thing is to expose them, you know, to show people their hypocrisy.
Well, most hardcore critics of MGTOW will not accept an invitation to an honest, not even just a debate, all right? Fuck having a debate, just an honest chat. They won't accept it. And speaking of Nazism, check this out. I'll put the link up now. This is in my home country where I am now. This is beautiful.
Oh.
It's in Bandung, not far from here. Nazi cafe, Nazi-themed cafe in Indonesia reopens, keeping the swastikas and images of Hitler it pledged to remove. Beautiful.
I believe there was a positive attribute towards that symbol of the Nazi.
No. That symbol is actually a Buddhist.
It's Buddhist.
It's a Buddhist symbol.
Reversed.
It's reversed. It has virtually nothing to do with Nazism. So a lot of Westerners were very ignorant. They think that that's the swastika, and they say, "Oh, what the hell is the swastika doing on the temple?" But actually, the Buddhist temple is thousands and thousands of years old.
Well, go to South Korea, man. There's tons of Buddhist temples in South Korea with the same symbol.
Nothing to do with Nazism. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No, but huh?
What is confusing me now? It's a Buddhist symbol, but what the hell was Hitler doing with that Buddhist symbol? And then
it's reversed.
They just turned it
the
around.
Other way around. It's turned around.
So it's meant to be like the opposite of peace and everything like that.
Well, the Buddhist symbol, I don't know what it actually means, and I don't know why Hitler reversed it. I have no idea, but that's what it is. That's where it stands. You know, I mean, but the funny thing is with the story that I just posted, there's this cafe in Bandung. It's a city just south of Jakarta, not very far, and there's this Nazi-themed restaurant. So everything in there is like Nazi memorabilia. If you're a World War II freak, it's a beautiful place to go and have a coffee. But, you know, the only people shitting their pants about it are the Westerners. The Indonesians don't give a fuck.
That's hypocritical. That's just hypocritical.
Yeah.
I think there is nothing wrong because it's history. It happened. You can't erase history. You know, it just happened. That's the way it is. You know. Yeah. But the hypocrisy here is that if they did the same thing about something else, some other war, you know, that happened much earlier, people wouldn't give a shit, right? For example, think about all the wars that were fought by the Romans. How many people they have killed? But if people were talking about Roman wars, nobody would give a fuck. And do you know the reason why? It's because what happened in Nazi Germany was documented. It was documented with video cameras, with pictures, with videos, and people have seen the horror. But actually, very horrific wars have been fought in history. but we know nothing about that because we don't have the documentation, we don't have the actual pictures and videos, right? And
rest assured, getting eaten by a fucking lion with those gladiators, getting eaten by a lion and being a slave, i.e. gladiator, must have been horrific. Must have been absolutely.
But exactly. But that's the point. Even things which were even more horrific have been committed in the past centuries. But people don't talk about these things because we don't have the actual video. Can you imagine if Romans 2,000 years ago had pictures and videos? We could actually see what they were doing. We would be horrified, and people would be talking about these sports just as much as people are talking about today about the Holocaust, for example. It's just, what for example, people in Italy say, occhio non vede, cuore non duole, which means the eye doesn't see, then the heart doesn't. So in order to empathize, you have to actually even empathize visually. You have to actually feel it and with your senses. If there is no sense, no senses touch connection, then there will be very little empathy.
Well, mirror neurons.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, there's no visuality of it, but rest assured, I mean, imagine being a Roman gladiator in those times and then, fighting for your life almost like every day to entertain these, people that found amusement and entertainment into seeing you, fighting for your life and seeing death matches, basically.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it actually was, these gladiator fights. They were death matches, we still, this is the thing about humanity. We have out of, conflict and violence and, misery to an extent, And I just wonder, what is the reason behind it? What is the reason that we find entertainment or a thrill out of seeing someone being harmed or...
Okay.
It's just eating toast.
Yeah.
Green Jew, you naughty man. That's a wonder. It's like, why do we find like science so entertaining to see, like, all right, for example, boxing. Why is it that we find it entertaining that basically two guys hitting each other with 14-ounce gloves, causing each other brain damage? Why? Why do we find it so entertaining? Why is it such a emotional industry?
Turk Man, I don't find that entertaining at all, and I never found it entertaining. I don't like sports, and this is actually what I was talking about with Barbarossa some time ago. And I told him the reason why I really disliked all these sports, all the violence. But, unfortunately, a lot of guys are into these sports. And that's very misandric,
It is, unfortunately. But, I'm guilty of being entertained. I'm guilty of enjoying watching violence.
But why are you entertained? What do you enjoy about that? There are men who are basically slaughtering one another. What's entertaining about that?
And I question myself.
Teenagers did, and boxing. Boxing, they get in. It's a choice. They choose to get in the ring, whereas gladiators had no choice. I think it's that kind of choice. And people, they know that they're choosing to get into that environment and to test their skills in that way. And so,
that I don't entirely agree with that, Gregory, because, sorry if I interrupt you, but I don't entirely agree with that, because I watched one some time ago, a documentary. I think it was either made by the BBC or by Channel 4, and it was actually showing that a lot of the guys who started that way, they were broken, they were desperate, they had nothing else, they had no other opportunities, they had no other options. And saying, I started doing this because I was completely broke, and they were giving me good money. So, it's easy to say, well, it's their option, because, it is your option until you see that you have no other option. So what kind of choice is that?
Well, that for me is...
On that point, simply because when they get to a place like Madison Square Gardens or whatever, the illusion is there. It definitely looks like it's a choice. They're choosing to get into the ring.
I don't think it's a choice. It's a conditioned choice. It's a choice that you make because in reality you don't have other options.
Well, look,
agree with you on that. I agree with you 100%. I definitely agree because they don't really show the behind the scenes where
There it is, the background, their story.
So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
The perception.
Okay, so we got rid of that the idea. So there is nothing. You see two men.
The perception. The perception is that at that point they believe they're under the perception that they chose to get in there. Somehow psychologically they believe that they chose.
Okay, but this is again another example of double standards, because you see, imagine that if you apply the same argument about prostitution, and there were people, feminists complain about prostitution, and they made it illegal in some countries, like they made it illegal in most states in the United States of America and in Sweden, for example. They made prostitution illegal because they were saying that it's exploitation of women, and actually some people were saying, but hang on a minute. These women want to be they want to be sex workers. It's their choice. So feminists answered to that, and they said, well, what kind of choice is that? Because maybe it's a choice if you have other options, but some of these women, they have nothing else. In a way, I would agree with that until I start to see double standards. Because if you understand that logic, why don't you apply the same logic to, for example, those men who actually have to do either engage in these violent sports, or I don't know. So they're doing the shittiest jobs in the world, and people are saying, well, nobody's forcing them. Okay, nobody's forcing them, but maybe they have no other options.
Right. I agree. You're right. It is a double standard. You're right. I mean, even, I come face to face with double standards that are perceptions in my own head plenty of times. I'm just saying,
Greg, I can't hear you. Greg, I can't hear anything.
May I interject for one moment?
No.
Jay, you Jay, look. Well, is it conditional, their choice? Yeah, absolutely. However, they still have a choice. Look. There's millions and millions. There's a lot of individuals in society that will choose to, do another profession. A lot of these that go into fighting, they're conditioned to it. They some of them, it's been their dream to become a champion. It's their dream to become a champion of boxing or mixed martial arts. Something to do. I've known, for example, there's a guy that loved, was inspired by Muhammad Ali, for example, Mike Tyson. When he was a young man, yeah, it was conditional his choice. However, he was also inspired by the great boxers of his time of history. He was inspired by Ali. He was inspired by guys like that when he was growing up, and inspired him to go into the profession and become champion. It's not just that.
You have to break it down to the common denominator, and the moment you start to break it down, you start to understand the logic which is at the base. Then you start to understand that it's all part of this. These people are conditioned to believe that you become a champion. You become a champion of what? Of hitting another man in order to entertain other people who are paying just to see two men killing one another. The whole thing is just absurd. It's completely irrational. But you're trying to rationalize something that is just completely irrational.
I know, but okay, but you say that, but what's rational about millions and millions of people buying pay-per-views to watch a bunch of guys beat each other up? It's a multi-billion dollar industry, violence. So
the moment you realize
that, weird question.
The moment you realize that it's a multi-million-dollar industry, I think someone is trying to get in.
Universal Studios. We have room, right?
The moment you realize that it's a multi-million-dollar industry, just like, for example, violence against women and false rape accusations and domestic violence, this is a multi-million-dollar industry. When you realize that's wrong, why would you even support it?
Well, okay, Jay, wait, hold on a second, Jay. I have something to throw at you here.
Did Greg drop out?
Yeah, it looks like he did. I didn't even see that. Yeah, he did. Hey, Jay, I got something to throw at you here. You're talking about choice, but a conditioned choice, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to the ultimate conditioned choice. The ultimate conditioned choice. The choice of whether or not to take your own life.
Oh, God.
Now, now, there are a million variables in anyone's life, rich or poor, that might lead them to make that choice and decide, I want to take my own life. But we could argue that all of the conditions that led up to that choice might not be fair in him making that choice on his own free will. Perhaps he had a bad marriage. Perhaps he was born into a poor family and blah, 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 whatever it might be. So in the end, and I think I agree with Turk here, in the end, regardless, if you consider all the conditions of your life that might be made, the ultimate choice of taking your own life, no matter what condition you were born into or grew into, you still have that choice. In fact, the poorest, most desperate man in the world still has that choice, regardless of the conditions. So I would not I would not take away that choice 100%, especially if we consider that.
I don't agree because there are other factors to take into account. For example, you were talking. There are people who are extremely poor, and yet they don't take their life. They don't commit suicide. Yeah. There are other people who are rich and famous, like, for example, the guy who played, I don't remember his name.
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain,
No, the actor. There it is, Robin Williams. He was rich, he was famous. A lot of people loved him. He wasn't poor. He was rich, famous, a famous actor.
Yeah, so your argument says... your argument saying that he was forced into that choice... And
no. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there are other factors to take into account. For example, there is post-traumatic stress disorder. There is depression. There is anxiety. There is stress. There are so many things. These things don't allow you to make a rational choice. It's not a choice.
Well, then life itself doesn't allow anyone to make a rational choice based on your argument, because life itself is so dynamic and so unpredictable that there is no choice you could make that could not be rational. That could be rational. That's why I don't agree.
Well, hold on. I want to
go ahead.
Do some Star Trek wisdom here real quick. Captain Picard was talking to a guy who was a rich man, and they were arguing like he had cryogenically frozen himself and woke up 200, 300 years later, and he was asking Captain Picard, well, what do I do now that we're no longer in a capitalist society? What do I do now? And he goes, is this what it's all about? Money? Human beings have grown out of our infancy in the last 300 years. It's no longer about material possessions. And then the capitalist says, it's never been about money, Picard. It's been about power. And Picard goes, power to do what? And the capitalist says, power to control one's destiny. And Picard says, that kind of control is an illusion.
Well, there you go. That's the argument that you guys are making. Then it's like the illusion of self-control. No, not self-control. Free will. You're arguing the illusion of free will.
Well, it's blatant on its face. I mean, sure, given a series of proper decisions and opportunities, someone born in poverty in Africa can make it to America. But yeah, effectively, my vote don't count for shit. Effectively, I have no control whether or not my army goes to war in Afghanistan. Effectively, I have no control over the tax rate. Effectively, I have no real control over the society around me. I only have control over myself. Mm-hmm. And yet, to control one's destiny is relative to your environment, relative to the complex chess game that is being played by billions of people.
See, you're making a great argument for the existence of religion and God right there, my friend. You realize that?
Well, atheists typically do.
I mean, you are. I'm just saying you are. I mean, in that instance, you are making a great argument for that, because what you're saying is that regardless of your situation or regardless of of where you come from, the amount of control you have over yourself in your personal life is very little. And then it goes on to say, well, how much free will do you really have when you make decisions based on, let's say, I don't know, the family you were born into or the environment of the country you were born into?
Well, Emma Watson is a perfect example. I mean, oh, this poor little rich girl, whose dream at 6 or 8, she said, "Oh, I knew I wanted to be an actress at 6."
Also,
Well, your first acting role after you were still in boarding school, and your first acting role was in a movie. You jumped from doing elementary school shows to a movie. Yeah, like, that is only possible because of status, wealth, power.
well, also you have to be aware. You have to be aware is that a lot of these people that become fighters, physical fighters, like, you know, mixed martial artists and boxers, they have a totally complete and different mentality to your average person. They have a totally different mentality. You know, a lot of them are very intensely aggressive, volatile human beings, and I guess some of them actually need a venue to release that aggression. I mean, I know I have to. I mean, I'm someone that practices mixed martial arts about 3 to 4 times a week. For me, it's therapy. For me, it's part of, you know, it's a passion of mine. You know? Yeah, it's painful. Yeah, you get hit on the head now and again, and you get into painful holds. But it's something that I feel I enjoy. You know, it's okay. Let me give an example. Why do some people travel? Why do people, you know? Why do we do things? Yeah? Why do people do things? Yeah? Why do we just do things? You know, some people fight, some people create art, some people, you know, write poetry. You know, it's variables. People have different personalities, different, you know, perceptions of life, and you know, some people fight. I guess, you know.
Well,
Turk,
I find it quite interesting that some men are very stressed. They have their issues or their frustrations, their psychological issues, and they decide to release that into art or painting or poetry. And some other men have the exact same thing, and they decide to release that by punching another guy that they don't even know. Don't you see the difference?
No,
There is.
There is. The only difference that exists, that what you're saying, I think, Jay, is you're basically arguing against the fact of free will, in my opinion, on the grand scale. What you're saying is that you don't have the free will to make your own decisions because every factor that you can weigh in, as far as your life is concerned, is affecting those decisions. So you don't actually have the free will to make those decisions. And that's a huge, huge argument against within religion and atheism and how we live our lives of human beings. And
But yet there are so many different options. Why choose the most violent one? If you have so many
and
options
that's
in
the
your
choice.
life.
There's the choice.
Yeah. So in the end you have a non-violent, non-aggressive choice.
But
You-
it's
you
still a
can make
choice. But it's still a choice.
It is. Okay, I agree with that. But why would you choose the poisonous one?
Jay,
But that depends on the individual. It depends on the individual is making the choice. Some of them, they don't see it that
Doesn't
way.
that allow you to question that individual?
Of course it does.
Aren't you going to question the individual and the morality and the values and the mentality of that individual?
Of course it does. But not every...
Okay, look, he's I think he's answering his own question. It's empathy. You have to understand that these people have probably, ironically, a Roosh complex.
What? A Roosh complex.
Roosh complex. Yeah.
Yes, at their core, they view themselves as inferior or inadequate.
Yes.
And so
They
have
need
to
to compensate
prove,
that.
Yeah, they have to prove themselves by beating other people out. Effectively, literally beating other people up.
Yeah. Which, incidentally, is part of hypermasculinity, right?
Well, it's just, it's like with my ex, hypermasculinity or hyperfemininity.
Oh, yes, yeah, I would agree. Hypermasculinity or hyperfemininity, I agree, yes.
Yeah, you play the hand you're dealt.
Oh.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
look, you could also count it to genetics. Some people are predispositioned to violence. You have to understand that, be aware of that. Some people are born into families that have got a history of violence, history of being ill-tempered or volatile. And I suppose some people get into a profession where they can channel it in a way where they cannot get into trouble. In professions such as boxing and cage fighting or mixed martial arts, if you want to call it that. Some people.
As is the case with Mike Tyson.
Well, you have to
Mike
understand.
Tyson still caught a rape case. Mike Tyson still caught a rape case.
Well, you have to understand, Turk. What Turk just said. You're not talking about genetics if you're talking about born into violence.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not genetics. I mean, if you're born into violence, you're talking about environmental
Well,
behavior.
you are, but some people have, look, some parents are, aggressive. They have aggressive genes. Children are born with aggressive genes, like my mother. In my case, my mother can be aggressive. I'm aggressive.
Yeah, I know, but was your mother born with the aggressive gene, or was that, or did you learn that behavior from her behavior? I mean, that's the ultimate question.
You know what? I'd have to be honest. Maybe I've learned that through my mother. My mother would exhibit aggression. She would shout, she'd scream, she'd froth from the mouth if she'd get angry. She would at times, physically abuse me at times. But I don't know. Maybe it's a vicious. I don't know. I mean, I've watched fighters. I've watched fighters like, for example, let me give you an example. Georges St. Pierre, some mixed martial arts, a great fighter. Now, this man has had a great upbringing. His parents are very mild mannered. They've always been gentle to their son, and their son has become one of the most successful fighters in the history of mixed martial arts, right? But yet he's in such a violent industry, such a violent perfection. But yet this guy is one of the most gentle and polite human beings you could ever meet, But why is that? Why is it that a man with those characteristics, why would they choose a profession so violent? That is a strange thing.
Well,
Okay. I want to say something here. Hold on.
Go on.
There is a dynamic that people engage in where they find that the safest place is in the heart of danger, and they know how to navigate their environment. I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, my father was a Catholic. My stepfather was a Catholic, and he was raising us all Catholic. But when we sat down at the dinner table, we were not allowed to speak. And so when we would pray over our meal, he would take off his belt, set it next to his plate, and if anyone so much as spoke, he would lash that belt out. Now, at that dinner table, I would sit closest to him because it destroyed his ability to wind up. I knew that the hardest hits would come if he reached across the table to hit you. But if you were close to him, okay, he couldn't wind up and hit you as hard as he could if you were further away. So in my mind, from a very early age, and I'm talking like 3, 4, 5 years old, I learned that the safest place at that dinner table was closest to him. So I was navigating my environment, okay? And this is the same thing that's true with boxers. Even though it is violent or whatever, sometimes they feel the safest place they've ever felt safe is in the ring where they're facing the actual danger. They're in the heart of danger, but they feel safest there. Okay? I know this to be true. It's just a dynamic that people engage in. The same argument can be made for prostitutes. The safest place is in the heart of danger because they have learned to cope with that environment. They know how to navigate that environment. And that's a component that needs to be considered in regards to this.
I don't know. Maybe you're
Mitchell's
right.
laughing. What are you thinking about, Mitch?
Oh no, I'm just watching the sledgehammer clip from Fem Hater. No.
Oh, by the way, Mitchell, you said you liked my mum, right?
Excuse me?
You said you liked your mum, like my mum, like you thought she was attractive, right?
No, I said she was a nice woman.
No, but you said she was attractive.
I mean, wait, where are you going with this?
I don't know.
I'm very uncomfortable now. I'm extremely uncomfortable.
Very.
Please, be weird, son. Please, 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 please. You know, I said this to my mum. Listen, one of my
Everybody
friends.
thinks their mom's attractive. Like, who thinks their mom is ugly?
No, you don't get it. Mitchell saw my mum, and she said, oh, Mum is a nice-looking woman. She's a pretty woman. And I said this to my mum, and she says she actually felt it was a compliment, and she says thank you, by the way.
Oh yeah, well yeah, okay.
Wait a
fair
second,
enough.
Mitchell's hitting on your mom?
I'm not.
No. She just. I showed a picture. of how my mum looks, and he just made a compliment. He said, "Oh, pretty looking lady, your mum is." And I just said, "Oh, thank you very much." And I said, well, "Okay, one of my friends finds you a cute looking lady," and she said, "Oh, thank you very much," and you've raised her confidence a bit. So, yeah, Mitchell, thanks.
Hey, I want the conversation. I wanted to ask Jay a couple of questions. Jay, are you there?
Yes, okay, just 1 second because I was waiting so.
You know, Mitchell, thinking about it now, I apologize.
No, you have nothing to apologize for. It's just, I thought you set me up for something.
That was kind of.
I would have set him up for something.
My mum, she really appreciates it because she feels old. She feels like she's knackered and old and tired, and she's 58, and it's not. And she says, "Oh, it's nice to hear a guy who thinks I look nice," and she really appreciated the compliment.
Oh,
But you also appreciate that.
How did he?
No. I mean, she looks very fit and very healthy, especially for her age.
Yes,
What did you do? Did you show a picture of her or something like that?
I showed it.
Does your mom know that?
I wanted the guys to say hello to my mother, and my mother said, "Oh, hello, guys." Saying hello to my friends.
Guys, could you please stop? Could you please stop objectifying and sexualizing Turk's mother? That's part of patriarchy. You're just showing your male privilege, which is just
Oh, but you know what, my mom. Right. She got a smile out of it. She actually like enjoyed it. She said thanks.
Okay.
No, it is oddly one of the. I mean, this is the weirdest thing for MGTOW to say. It is oddly one of the few pleasures I have is bringing a smile to women's faces.
Okay, we are in the twilight zone of MGTOW.
Yeah,
Well, you make my mom happy, so.
Okay, Greg, you have to ask something.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
We recently had that hangout on the subject of shame, and of course, every hangout turns into sex. We were talking about the subject of how men. I brought up the possibility that men may actually turn to other men trying to retain their heterosexuality. Now, I know you commented on one of the videos, and I wish you could have been a part of that discussion.
Well, sometimes they talk about, but they don't talk with,
Yeah, and I was hoping to get your input, but I suggested that it was possible that men would turn to other men for affection and try to retain their heterosexuality at the same time.
Well, it's funny you say that, Gregory. It's funny you say that because when me and Jay talk, we do say before we go, we say "love you, mate," and say "yeah, I love you too," as a affectionate, friendly sort of gesture, So it is nice, It is nice to have that, because that's a sad thing in society. When you show affection to a male, it's considered homosexual,
Yeah.
If you hug a man, if you kiss a man on a cheek, it's considered homosexual.
Depends on the culture, man.
Yeah, it depends on the culture, yeah, exactly. Because in Mediterranean cultures, in Catholic, Roman Catholic, or Mediterranean, or Latin, South European, North African, Muslim, Arab cultures, this is not considered homosexual. It's considered just completely normal.
Yeah, it's normal.
And even if you go to Latin America, if you go to Argentina, it's completely natural that men kiss other men. 100%. Where I was born, in South Italy, I went to Spain, I went to Greece, I've been to Turkey. and it's just people kiss, men kiss other men all the time. They hug men, they show affection. It's usually North European cultures that are against that, and of course, North European cultures have conquered the rest of the world.
Well, Australia,
like
Canada,
Latin America, Australia. Yeah, exactly.
But here's the thing.
Predominantly Germanic societies, right? Germanic societies meaning either the British Isles or Germany or Scandinavian society. These are Germanic societies.
The Aryan societies.
These societies can be very misandric and very androphobic. Yeah. And if you study their history, if you study, for example, their, say, primitive societies and their primitive religions, they were very extremely gynocentric.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, let me ask this.
Hitler was a man's man.
Yeah.
AKA Veronica Clark.
Men being affectionate to one another like that, would you say that in those societies, though, that they have a healthy, a more healthier view of masculinity through that?
I would say yes, and I think that even Ayam would agree with that, because
I agree.
And we've actually been I've been in a hangout with Universal, and he's Lebanese. He lives in Australia, but he's from Lebanon, and his family is from Lebanon. He said, that in his culture, in his society, men show a lot of affection, and there is masculinity is seen in a very positive way. Now you should probably deal with Universal, and he would probably tell you that feminists have tried to impose feminism in Lebanon. They failed because men just would not tolerate that. We're just completely against that.
Same here.
He told me that.
Same here in Indonesia, man.
Because when feminism starts to become relevant, do you know what they do? They start to break men. They turn men one against the other. Because that's part of femininity. Women have to constantly shit men. They put men one against the other. Why do they do that? Because they're selecting the fittest and the strongest and the most powerful.
Yeah.
So, okay, so if in like, say, America, if relations between men and women became so toxic that they didn't even want to have anything to do with one another, would that eventually lead to men being affectionate toward one another, retaining their heterosexuality at the same time, yet engaging in sexual relations with one another? That's the point I was trying to make. Was that? Well,
I understand. No, I understand that. In a way, I would agree, and I would say yes. I would probably say yes. But you can also see that from a different perspective. For example, if you think about African American men, let's say in the rap and hip hop culture, right? And if you look at that particular subculture and movement, where, for example, African American men started to bond with other African American men because they were facing the same problem, the same issues, not only from a racial point of view, but also from a gender point of view. Because I think that in America, African American males are targeted not only because of their skin color, but also because of their gender, right? I think there is against them a combination of the presumption of black guilt together with the presumption of male guilt. And if you combine the two things together, that has catastrophic repercussions on the individual. So black men are targeted, they're considered already guilty, they're already monsters. And if you look at their subculture, for example, in rap and hip hop, and where they started to bond with other African American men, and if you look at that, you see that some of these singers, sometimes they make albums, and you can see them in pictures where they're naked or they're hugging one another. And how do feminists react to that? Oh, that is homoerotism, that's so misogynistic because they hate women, and they immediately turn that into an act of misogyny. So I think that in a culture where men, they start to empathize with other men, they start to show affection for the men. My opinion. Yeah.
Okay. The point that I want to make, though, because I led that conversation to a specific direction, was in transsexualism, where a man makes himself more agreeable to other men. He doesn't go through with the full sex change, okay, but
Yeah.
he does make himself more feminine, okay, and he wants to be with men. Is the possibility, I guess. I'm curious. I'm just curious about the possibility that men are choosing this method of, I guess, expression in order to make themselves more agreeable to other men, even though they want to retain their
I can't really talk about transsexual males or even females because I'm not one, so I would be talking about something that I don't even know, I don't even understand, you know. I'm a gay man, I'm not a transsexual or transgender. I presume that what they're trying to do is to actually gain all the privileges that women have. You know, a male to female transsexual is basically a man with the sort of the benefits and privileges of females.
Because he's aligning himself with the perception of the power inherent to it. I get that. But well,
actually, there were some transgender and transsexuals, both male to female and female to male, who have actually talked about this. And they have actually declared that it was far worse when they were men than when they were women. And they have experienced far more sexism and far more discrimination against and far, more hatred when they were males, because they can actually compare. You know, a male to female transsexual or a female to male transsexual, they're kind of in both worlds. They can be both men and women. They actually said that they received more discrimination, more hatred when they were males. And I presume, I never experienced that because I've never been a woman, and I'm not planning to be a woman, of course, but I presume that I can fully understand that. And I can, because the lie that feminists say is that women are so discriminated against, that they're hated by the society. That's just fucking bullshit. It's just the other way around.
Yeah.
Just the exact opposite. And the real privileged ones are women. They're not men. They're the privileged ones.
Well, it's pretty easy to tell. It's pretty easy to say, Greg. It's pretty easy to tell when anytime men want to gather without women, it is opposed. And it is absolutely opposed. Anytime men want to gather, just gather in any space, whether it be virtual or in reality, in real life.
Oh yeah, men's club, or when men are together, women just hate that. They just hate it. They
they do
because
mock
they can't be there to control.
Right. Well, they do mock it, but I mean, like even in Alaska, they still have moose lodges in Alaska. I haven't heard of a moose lodge since I was watching, like, The Honeymooners.
Moose lodge? What the hell is a moose lodge?
It's just like a men's club.
Oh, okay. Like
a place where you go to gamble and drink and smoke, and shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at ultimately is women get to have sex with women. And it's acceptable, and they've retained their heterosexuality. Women get to have sex with men and retain their heterosexuality.
Yes. It's not allowed if men do it with other men, yes.
Yes, that's my whole point, is that there is this huge double standard that men don't get to have sex with other men or seek affection from other men.
Do you understand the meaning of the double standard? Do you understand why?
Oh,
that's a good question.
Out is why.
Yeah. Do you know why?
It should be irrelevant, though.
I'm trying to discover this.
Because they're trying to figure out who is the
male. No. Gregory, it's actually very simple. You do not. Actually, I'm planning to make a video on this, but I will do it later. You don't allow men to show any affection to other men. You don't allow them. You don't allow them at all costs. You forbid them, you forbid it, and you censor it at all costs.
It's tragic.
Because men have to invest all their feelings, all their emotions, all their resources, everything they have
to women.
Yeah. And there it is. So this is the reason when men start to find they start either a men's club, or they start MGTOW, or they're gay, It doesn't matter, whatever the reason. They're immediately shamed by the society because it means, oh, you're not taking care of females, you're taking care of other males. You're not allowed to do that. Why? Because you have to give priority to females.
Hey, so Jay, my question is, why has that thrived in some Mediterranean cultures, where or Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cultures, even Southeast Asia, where men are allowed that to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But it is changing now.
built
Like, it
into
is
the
definitely
society
changing.
somewhat.
Well, I think this is only a theory, so don't try to see too much science in this. But my theory is because Mediterranean cultures were far more advanced than, say, Germanic cultures. If we go back, let's say, 2,000 years into the past, let's say we had a time travel machine, Greece, Egypt, Italy, the whole area was far more advanced than Northern Europe. Northern Europe was mostly barbaric, right? They were far more advanced. And my idea is that they were one step ahead, meaning that they probably knew how toxic and counterproductive gynocentrism is. This is only a theory, perhaps. I might be wrong about
I might
this.
say that
Well,
they were more into patriarchy.